the Big 8 tournament champion.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is the Hoops Postgame Show here on 93.7 The Ticket. The Huskers fallen on the road today, 82-63 against Maryland. But we can talk about it because there was at least a little bit of a fun part, even though that score doesn't sound too fun, was that Sam Hoiberg came out firing. So maybe Nebraska found a little bit of something that they could use going forward this season. We'll break it all down here. I am Jake Bockelman here with Mike Melby of Husker Rewind. You can hear that every Sunday. And we got Strick is out today. DP, I think, is out today, so it'll just be us. If you guys want to call in, text in, either way, same number, Honda of Lincoln Hotline, 402-464-5685. Saturday Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. And this show, I'd like to say, is probably for the diehards, because if you sat through that game and you still want to have some more Husker basketball on a Saturday, then you're one of us, and I can understand you. But it's not the best product right now.
No, it's not, and with good reason. I mean, it is what it is. I'll tell you right now, this is one of those games, and it goes back to some old school bad offensive basketball, Barry Collier days with some buddies and I. And we had a drinking game, and you had to drink every time Nebraska turned the ball over. And there were games that we were pretty schnonkered by halftime, and there were some games that we had to call and get someone to ride home because they were pretty bad. Today would have been one of those days that you would have had a nice, happy buzz from 4 minutes into the game until the end. You never would have. You needed to take a lot of water between the shots. But regardless, this is a team that looks completely discombobulated right now. Again, with good reason. You're missing the glue in Juwan Gary, and quoting Fred Hoiberg, the best on-ball defender that he's ever coached in Emmanuel Bandamel. And let's face it, Gary's energy, enthusiasm, defense, and garbage bucket and little thing energy that he brought to the floor. Denham Dawson's trying to do his best to fill that role. Denham Dawson's a young man. Juwan Gary is in college basketball terms an old man.
Yeah,
he's learning. And it's kind of trial by fire now with Dawson, with Jamarcus Lawrence. A little bit of trial by fire with walk-on Sam Hoiberg. You have to figure. I always figured if Sam got a shot, nothing would be too big for him. Like we could have been sitting there for the sake of argument, season's going really well. And today we're on the road, big game against Maryland. He gets pressed into playing. Let's say, we're 15-6 and massive game, whatever, against Purdue, number one team in the country. He could have come in. I don't think the moment would have been too big for him. I mean, this is what he's grown up with his dad being who his dad is.
Yeah.
And today, I know there wasn't a ton of pressure. No one's expecting anything out of you, and he was left pretty wide open. But here's the funny thing that Sam Hoiberg did today that is so strange, because he was wearing a Nebraska uniform. He hit open threes because evidently no one else on the team has that capability. They've proven it for, 22 games now, outside of occasionally Casey Tominaga, and one out of, what is it now? Every 10 games, CJ Wilcher can hit more than one. This team is, I'll be honest, today was a game that I got the feeling there's a lot of guys that quit during this game. And I'm not talking for the season. I'm talking in this game. It just, the effort, the lack of effort, the apathy towards anything that was going on when something went wrong. And I get it, because you're missing those guys. Blaise Keita, again, didn't play a minute. He's up to 10, 11, 12 games. He's a guy that would have given you 12, 15 minutes a game. He would have given you 4 to 6 points or rebounds a game. He would have taken a little bit of heat and given a few fouls to Derek Walker. And then go back to the beginning of the season. Q McPherson, a guy that would have been your backup point guard. And Sam Griesel's our point guard, but let's face it, Sam Griesel's a 6'7" 3, small forward that's playing point because he's got pretty good ball handling skills and he's a big, strong man. Yeah. And he can handle playing point in the Big Ten.
He's just he wouldn't do it on every roster. He's doing it because he's the best, maybe the best to do it on this roster. But
exactly.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it is truly baling wire and duct tape right now. That's the lineup that goes out every day. Every once in a while, hopefully, we get a game where the baling wire has a couple of barbs on it that nick a couple of fingers on the opposing team, and we can do some damage and maybe pick up another win or two. But with the effort and the play that we've seen out of Nebraska basketball right now, should we just carve 10-21 into stone right now? I don't know that they win another game. I thought they had a shot against Northwestern, with Northwestern coming off of the COVID break, etc.
Yeah.
They looked tired. You could tell they slowed things down on purpose against Nebraska the other night on Wednesday. But at the end of the day, that's a pretty talented team that is in a way better place mentally than Nebraska is right now. And it's simply because, you just got you're a welterweight, and you just got hit by Tyson's right hook to the gut twice. That's what just happened in Nebraska basketball in the last 2 weeks with injuries. It's not the way that anybody expected the season to go. But at the end of the day, the guys got to figure out a way to give 40 minutes of effort. I'm calling it as I see it. There were guys that quit today. I'm not going to say their names, but there were guys that stopped trying as hard as they needed to try.
Well, there was at least a lot of fast break opportunities, not getting back down the floor. I missed on a missed free throw. They had a fast break opportunity where they had to foul, which led to a technical or whatever it was. But and there were a few of those, and the refs didn't help today. No. I think they were calling a lot of ticky-tack fouls there on Nebraska, but I'll say this here. Here's a good stat from the game. Maryland, 24 of 26 from the line. That's good for 92%. They're about a 71% free throw shooting team on the year. So Kevin Willard in the group there, I'm sure they're feeling pretty good about this performance. It's hard to say. It's kind of one of those things like when you're looking at targeting in football is how do you measure intent and hustle and quit and stuff and energy, that stuff. It's kind of hard to say. You never can know what's going on. But this game did get out of hand in the second half. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say it did. And I want to go back to the play you're talking about where Denham Dawson took a swipe at the kid, and it was an intentional foul. Technically, it was. He kind of grabbed him, twisted him a little bit. But the technical is what I don't get, because they called it flagrant. The kid's face got injured. Do you know why? Because it ran into the knee of the referee after the kid tried to throw up some weird shot. And then because of the way he twisted his body after the contact to try to throw this weird shot up, he landed weird. The referee came running in, and the kid's face smacked the referee's knee. How is that Denham Dawson's fault? Like, that's what I don't get. And if there was any even remote contact when a Maryland player went to the hoop, remote contact, it was an automatic foul. Yet Derek Walker, every time he put the ball up, similar style. It was worse in most cases. Now, it wasn't a hack on the arm or whatever, but there was body. All they were calling was body on Nebraska. Why doesn't Maryland get called for the body?
And sometimes that's, the bigger players, like you said, Derek Walker, well, I guess they're just expected to go through contact. But if they're going to call all that weak stuff at the rim for Maryland the same way they did for Derek Walker, you're right. You just go to it repeatedly. If you're the Huskers, they didn't. I think they had until recently. There toward the end, they weren't shooting too many free throws. They got some there at the end. This was a game where a lot of people played. And once again, I thought Derek Walker early on when this game was close, very, very big factor into it. I thought they did a better job as opposed to last game. He led the team with 12 shots. Kind of faded away out of there once the game kind of started getting some distance between the teams. It's just interesting because Griesel hasn't been on the attack the last couple of games. Only 4 shots today. Again, 2 of those down the stretch when the game was already out of hand. 6 assists to go along with it. So he was kind of moving the ball around a little bit better and finding open guys. So, there is that. But I just feel like if you're this shorthanded and you've got, we can have guys step up. You can have Lawrence hit some threes like he did the other game. You get a Hoiberg, you're going to need somebody to step up as well. but you also need your core three, which, in my mind at this point is probably Walker, Greasel, and Tamanaga. And between Tamanaga and Greasel, he only had 7 shots at the hoop today.
But on the defensive end, Casey Tamanaga today was not good.
No.
He didn't play defense. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, people have no idea how much of a loss Juwan Gary and Emmanuel Bandamel were.
We're seeing it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is proof of exact. I don't think the team's done. I don't think they're going to fold it in and pack it in and completely quit for the season. Hopefully there's too much pride in that locker room. I trust Coach Hoiberg's going to try to, I mean, you could already see he's trying to push new buttons. His son, what a game from Sam. Doesn't shy away, knocks down the open shots. And it's something that Nebraska struggled to do all year. I mean, I'm such a qualified person to say what I would do if I was head coach. Yeah. So I'm going to do that.
Right.
Because I have a microphone.
Yeah.
Sam Greasel would be a 3. He would no longer handle the ball. He would no longer bring the ball up the floor. Casey Tamanaga would run the point for me. If not, Jamarcus Lawrence would. And from that point, it would be a 5-out motion offense. And I would try to get 100 possessions a game, if not 125. After every made basket, I get it. We're down. We only got 7, 8, 9. I don't care. I would try to run people out of the gym. Play the best defense you can play and try to run people out of the gym.
Well, he's got to push some buttons in order to get a few more wins out of this group. That's for sure. But I mean, unfortunately, I'm kind of back into the spot you're with a lot of times with Hoiberg. This time because of injuries, right? So this is an outlier as opposed to the previous seasons. But you get long enough into these seasons where you're trying to think about how to push buttons here. And we do these Hoops post-game shows, strike a DP. And we were talking to the last couple of years, you kind of, do the early on in the season. You get to a point in the season where it's like, maybe it's not the chef, maybe it's the ingredients. And with what they have left over, it's nothing against them as basketball players, but you're playing in the Big Ten. So, this could be a pretty good mid-major team if, with what they have left, if you throw them out there and they get some wins. But in the Big Ten, it's just going to be hard to come by. And that's why, I think you can press some buttons. I think you can get some stretches where you're going to get the better end of your opponent. But to be able to do that enough to win a 40-minute game against one of these Big Ten opponents, it's just it's hard to see. But, that's the challenge that lies ahead. And again, it is going to be the overwhelming story moving forward is whatever is what the promise that you saw early in the season, and had things not derailed enough for Coach Hoiberg, moving forward. I mean, I kind of fought off trying to battle that narrative or that storyline, popping it back up until you needed to. You beat Creighton. Okay, we don't, it's going to take a downfall to really start talking about it. Beating Iowa, Ohio State. Okay, they're still pacing, but at this point, they've lost now. Their last 7 losses are by double digits. That's what I'm worried about. Is that it's not. That's when you start losing fan interest, and that's where you kind of have to consider making a move, I guess.
Yeah, and I've heard the argument that people have forgot the first 3 years and they're just giving Hoiberg a pass because there was a shred of sunlight for 15 games. And while I don't discount 24 wins, I get it. 7-7-10. 24, I get it. But at the end of the day, if Fred Hoiberg didn't have the buyout that he had, do you really think he'd still be our head coach? Do you think if he only had 2 years left on his original contract and a buyout of $5 million or $7 million tops, that he'd still be our head coach, right? I don't think he would be.
Probably not, yeah.
But he was given another chance. He completely 180'd his philosophy on how to coach the game of basketball. You continue to see guys get better. And that's the one thing. The teams haven't succeeded, but the players have gotten better. Don't tell me Derek Walker is as good as he is today because he just figured it out. No. Hoiberg, Nate Linzer, Ernie Ziegler this year, Adam Howard this year, and go back for the last 3 years. He's had a coaching staff that has shown him how to get better at the game of basketball, how to utilize his skills. Derek, what do you do best? Let's get you even better. Where do you need to work on it? Okay, let's get you to work. You know what? Your left hand's not great. Well, his left hand is now great. he can do a lot of things. Look at Bryce McGowan's. The difference between him at the beginning of last year and at the end of last year. And, oh, by the way, did you see him the other night? The guy was the best player on the Charlotte Hornets. He doesn't do that without Nate Linzer and Fred Hoiberg and the team and the coaching staff from last year. You're seeing Jamarcus Lawrence make strides this year. I'm seeing guys making strides. They're getting better. Casey Tominaga is figuring out how to get his shot off. He's got to make more of them, especially open looks. But he's getting more open looks than he had last. I mean, I see progress in the players. I saw Hoiberg take his tried and true, carved in stone, burned into his brain philosophy and go, yeah, I'm going to do the complete opposite. Mm-hmm. And they were successful with it. So I've seen enough. And the thing that stinks is I'm going to be so frustrated in another 9 games when they're 10-21 that I'm going to be like, for those first 20 games though. And who knows, maybe they pull out a win or 2 or 3. You don't count them out, because there was 4 times in this game where I'm like, they're going to lose by 30. And then it was a 9-point game or a 6-point game. There was one point it got back down to 6.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Sam Griesel had a 2-on-1 break, drove himself not towards the hoop, but towards the side of the backboard, underneath the backboard, threw up some wild shot that got blocked, and then they went the other way, hit a 3, and that was the end of any run Nebraska had. But again, it's one of those where, the guys that are supposed to make plays, the guys that were brought in to be leaders, to be shooters, to be whatever, you got to do your job.
But it can also can be, just kind of asking too much out of those guys. Been carrying on their back their whole year too. I mean, and hopefully you get that and you can consistently bring that to the table. But I mean, I think that is, again, to me, a little bit of the frustration today, along with the last game out. And it's not just one particular guy here, but again, when I look at your top players, maybe they're getting tired. Maybe it is kind of the point they're kind of, they're not 100% obviously, and not being able to carry the load as much. But you need your A game from again Tominaga, from Griesel, from Walker, and then you need have some other guys step up and kind of play outside themselves. But that's the problem, is Nebraska's going to have to talk about those runs and then a play that kind of throws it aside. They have to play nearly perfectly just to, stay in these games.
Well, they're going to have to play. They're going to have to play to 90% of their ability, and then have somebody just go off to win another game or 2. They just don't have the firepower. And the thing that stinks is the other thing that the refs. There were some calls that I wasn't thrilled with that I thought should have gone for Nebraska and should not have gone against Nebraska. Some ticky-tack stuff one way, and then they don't call it the other way. But at the end of the day, the refs are going to call the game. You got to play with the way they're calling the game. A lot of the fouls, though, that Nebraska was called for, they were half a step slow getting to where they needed to be. And that's where Emmanuel Bandamel was never half a step slow. He was half a step fast.
Yeah.
Juwan Gary got to loose balls, made plays, got rebounds, because he did things that no one else could do. It's not that they weren't willing. Mm-hmm. The guy, though, as I mentioned, he's an old man, not a young man in college basketball. He's a guy that knows. He's got the drive. I mean, remember Dennis Rodman? Remember how he was so hell-bent, relentless. He was going to get every rebound in any game, anytime he was on the floor. He didn't care if it creamed 20 feet away from him. He was going to go after it. And Juwan Gary seemed to have that kind of a motor and athleticism, and then knowledge of the game. He knew how to get to a spot to be able to get a hand on a ball, to tip it, to keep a rebound alive. And it's how many times did you see Emmanuel Bandamel all of a sudden leave his guy? And this is where, when you sit there and you wonder what, guys, I was watching film. What are you learning when you watch film? I mean, really? They're running the same set. Well, how many times did you see Emmanuel Bandamel leave his guy and all of a sudden be standing in a passing lane? Well, it's because he watched a lot of film. He figured out what was going on. He saw this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But again, Emmanuel Bandamel is a guy that's been in college for 6 years.
Yeah.
he's an old man in college basketball.
Yeah.
And trying to put it together. And I mean, the Big Ten is literally just an absolute, they said it the other night. It's a rock fight. Every game is just a rock fight. It just is. I mean, even when you're playing the Pansies from Iowa that, want to whine and cry about every little thing, Fran McCafferty, every game is still a rock fight. And it takes a little bit of time to get used to the rock fight, figure out how to be successful in the rock fight. And we've got guys that right now are going through the first trials and tribulations of playing, 20, 25 minutes in a game. And there's times they show flashes where you're like, damn, that guy's got some skill. And then there's times where you're like, you know what? He's a freshman. It's going to happen.
Yeah, let's get to some of your response as well here off the Starter Heyman text line. Willie says he didn't see any quit out there, so always different eyes can see different things out there. Husker Soft, that's interesting, said, should we talk about next year's coaching candidates? See, I mean, some people are kind of, I mean, I don't want to say no, but I do want to say I hope somebody's got a list to start thinking about it. Scott said, I said the same thing, Mike. That was a terrible call. It was there. I mean, there's a lot of them. Randy's not happy with Hoiberg, or he said, how about Sam Hoiberg? Also not happy with CJ's play. Bryce says, fire Fred, and who do you get? Nebraska will never be a contender again. So you're already kind of hearing it off the text line, different sides to that debate, which will be will get heavy again moving forward. Phase of 5 times says nothing will change this year with Fred. We will once again be a below average team in the Big Ten and play on the first day of the conference tournament. That does feel like that's the future. Kevin in Southwest Lincoln says the only remaining game that we could have a chance of winning is Minnesota at home. Could that be the battle for last place? Also says Trev would fire a Fred in early March if it was not for the $11 million buyout. This basketball program is worse than it's ever been. Good luck selling tickets next year. And a text from 1350, like, can we get the Pansies from Iowa soundbite? He likes that one. So. A lot of different, and that's what we always talk about, a divided fan base, right? And that's when you kind of get in the dangerous lines of who wants to see this thing moving forward with what you have. There's no doubt this team, had it stayed healthy, was going to be competitive. And, I could see, especially with this Big Ten, you talk about a rock fight, they were the epitome of a rock fight. They could, I'm not guaranteeing that if they'd stayed healthy, they'd be, 500 in the Big Ten by the end of the year, but I think they'd be pretty close. And so I think that's just going to be a lot of what you have to do as you analyze this, is if you're Trev, is, how much can you, but then you're just banking on stuff that you don't know. You're just assuming there. So it's going to be fascinating moving forward, that part of it. I just hope, my God, that these games are a little bit more fascinating. Like I said, of their last 7 losses, which they've now lost 5 out of 6, but I'm talking about their 7 losses dating back to that barn burner against Purdue. They've all been double-digit blowouts. And again, that's where I think you start to lose interest. That's where you start to lose the eyeballs. We saw a lot of people leaving at halftime last time at Pinnacle Make Arena. I'm sure there was a lot of people tuning out as that game kind of got out of hand. Maybe, kind of on par with that St. John's game earlier in the year. It was just kind of like midway through the second half, I'm like, this one's out of hand. So, I mean, I don't know. You want to talk about the intricacies of the game, but when you lose by 19, I don't, there's no small thing here or there that could have really made the difference. There's
nothing to nitpick. You got beat by 19, and in reality, you should have probably gotten beat by 30.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is what it is. You've got the lineup that you've got left healthy. And see, I'm gonna play both dudes on both sides of my shoulder. I'm gonna make the argument for and against Hoiberg coming back. Okay? Mm-hmm. 34. Divided by 4. Okay?
Yeah.
There you go. 8.4 wins a season. That's an argument against.
Mm-hmm.
Enough's enough. Flip side. The contract was what it was. He got an extra year. Did he take advantage of it? What did you tell him he needed to do? Figure out a way to win basketball games. So what did he do? Completely flipped his identity as a coach, the way he coached teams, the way he ran offense, the way he coached defense. Brought in people to help him do it, and Ernie Ziegler and Adam Howard. Already has a great teacher and developer and Nate Lenzer. The team looks good. The team plays their ass off. They 2 games out of the first 17, 18, they got outworked. It's going to happen on occasion, but like they were the harder working team in almost every game. They were one of the better rebounding teams in the Big Ten up until the injuries. I mean, you're looking, what did you want from him? That's exactly what I wanted from him. Did he succeed in that? Yes, he did. Did he build the depth to survive an injury to his backup point guard, Hugh McPherson, before the season, a high ankle sprain to his backup center in Blaze Cada that's going to cost him 10 to 15 games this year, and devastating season-ending injuries to his best on-ball defender that he's ever coached, and the glue of the energy guy that is the key cog in the wheel? No, he didn't build the depth. Fire him. But he did all the successful stuff that we asked him to do. You got to keep him. He's proven that he can do. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, and then too is how much do you like, again, the parallels to the Frost and the program and the football program are so there, because but for both of them, it was just kind of that long contract that you signed. So you just kind of got to stick with them, and you don't want to do the buyout there. And so, I mean, with Frost, it was kind of the same thing that I would say with Hoiberg, is that yes, he did switch, but I don't know if that's great long term, right? Like if he's winning, or the best he looks is a way that he's never done before, or so you're not necessarily relying on his specialty anymore. He's already kind of changed. So whatever he had, that magic he had in Ames, it's long gone. So whatever he can get going on here, you hope to kind of see it. But again, to me, it's 4 years in now, but it's still shocking. It's just like, how did Nebraska make A+ hires in both football and basketball, and not only did they not work out, they're losing at all-time worst, like lowest losing rates. Like it's baffling. It's like I don't know, like years and like decades from now, when you ask me about these times, I will still tell you I was just jumping for joy when they grabbed Hoiberg and thought this could be the next big movement in Nebraska basketball, to be a relevant program. And it just has it makes me wonder, like, I'm sure people forget he's here in Lincoln. Like if you're a fan today, of Maryland, and you turn on the game, I'm sure you forget it's Hoiberg, until you're like, oh yeah, I remember Fred Hoiberg.
No, they probably do remember, because they've won now 8 of 9 against us. So.
Well, Northwest, I know that Northwestern star is 0-7 against Northwestern.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. Like, here's the I got to be careful what I say here. Comparing Frost and Hoiberg, I've got to be careful, but yeah. I'm going to tell you this. Like, I genuinely believe that Fred Hoiberg wants to be the head coach at Nebraska, and I believe he's going to put the effort in that it's going to take to be successful. And he's just flat out a genuine, good, caring human being.
Oh yeah.
That I was worried when he was hired, he was only going to be here 4 or 5 years, because he was going to have so much success and then jump ship and go coach Kansas, or I truly did. There's still part of me that wants to believe that he's going to be to that point where we're going to be worried he's going to use this as a stepping stone. But at the same time, I mean, if they don't win another game, 34 wins in 4 years is not acceptable.
Well, that's why I think eventually you just kind of have to, you almost like throw out all the stuff that you think, and what you think may not matter. And it's ultimately up to Trev, and we got to get in these conversations with, once we get into hiring and firing season, and some analysts will just say, well, shut up. It doesn't matter what you think. This is sports radio. You guys are listening. We're talking. It's supposed to be kind of fun. Your opinions are allowed. I always say. So, and it's your program, and yeah, you may not have the final say, but, follow along with it. I'm sure you guys aren't done cheering for the Huskers. I did this with Frost. I did the same thing with Hoiberg. Is it just a certain point is like, are you hoping or do you believe? At some point, if you lost the belief that this thing is going to be turned around in 2 years or whatever your timeline is, and you're just left hoping, then maybe it's time to make a change. But let's take a quick break. We got to pay the sponsors: Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Thank you for sponsoring us all year long, as well as wall-to-wall wine and spirits. We'll take a quick break. Be back here on Who's Postgame Show as Nebraska falls again on the road, this time to Maryland, 82-63. We'll talk about it more coming up next.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
If you're in Lincoln, Waverly, or the surrounding area, listen up. Select Plumbing gets it right the first time on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate at 402-560-6197. Plus, they're hiring service plumbers. If you're in Lincoln, Waverly, or the surrounding area, contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Meeting your goal of having a healthy diet has never been easier than with the Venue at Home Healthy Living subscription. Chef-inspired meals that are health conscious and delivered right to your door every week. All you have to do is heat and eat. We offer delicious entrees, gluten-free pastas, fresh rice bowls, soups, salads, and more. Build your own package as a subscription to receive meals every week, designed to help you meet your dietary goals. Order your custom healthy meal package today at venueathome.net.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beers, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
We are back here on the Hoops postgame show on 93.7 The Ticket. Nebraska can't get it done on the road. They fall to 10-12 on the year. 2-7 away from Pinnacle, the confines of Pinnacle Bank Arena. Or at least that's the away games. They also had some neutral site games. But they lose 82-63 to Maryland, who's now 14-7 and has been protecting their home court quite a bit. 11-1. Man, how good would that feel if Nebraska was able to do that at Pinnacle Bank Arena? That's some tournament season vibes there. But it's been a while since that was going on. Nebraska today. Again, not the best game, but at least the Sam Hoiberg jumping up and really playing well. 15 points tonight for Sam Hoiberg. Quite a surprise. Obviously, a career high for him. 16 points from Derek Walker. Those are the only two in double digits as Nebraska, again, gets blown out by 19 points here. We got Bruce from Oregon on the line. We'll talk to him here in a second. But first, a little bit of breaking news from Mike Melby.
Breaking news, not basketball related, but I do want to toss it out there. Sua Lefotu. Defensive lineman out of Bellflower, California, 6'4", 85, I believe, has committed to Matt Rule and his staff. Wow. So the additions to the Nebraska recruiting class in 2023 continue. This young man came in, I believe, last weekend. I honestly thought it was probably less than 50-50. He wound up at Nebraska. But ultimately, he chooses the Huskers, and they've got it rolling at Memorial Stadium. So,
well, it's not going to be from a lack of guys in uniform, as we know. I think they're at that's got to be 102.
102.
Yeah, 102. They're going to have to make 17 cuts to get down to 85 or whatever they would do. These days with NIL, yep. Other things that you could do to try to get around that. But man, it continues to be fascinating. You're right, Matt Rule has that thing going, and it's weird to say because of the last couple of years hasn't been great, but it's got a nice talk, a little Husker football on a little bit of a depressing Husker basketball day.
Did you see his episode of Bussin' with the Boys?
Oh yeah.
You have Taylor Lewan, who would like nothing more than to see Memorial Stadium implode. I mean, him and Will Compton are good friends, but he really does not like Nebraska. And near the end of that thing, he puts his feet up and he goes, I think this is my favorite episode ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then he was blown away too. I saw he had a tweet that was like, oh yeah, Nebraska football, the monster that it is taking over because they got record number of podcast hits or whatever. But Matt Rule's really interesting, and we can go on this for a second. But Matt Rule's really interesting because I know how good of a speaker he is.
Yeah.
So my goal this whole time was like, okay, try to not drink the Kool-Aid, right? Try to stay focused. Try to keep it, keep locked in. Look forward. But every time I hear him, I mean, he knows what to say. That's for sure.
The thing is, though, he not only does he know what to say, he simply repeats it over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and so does every single person on his staff. I loved it when Sam McEwen asked either E.J. Barthel or Evan Cooper during their press conference a few weeks ago, "Where's the manuscript? Like, who has copies?" And they just go, "You worked for Coach Rule for a year, and you know it, word for word, inside and out." Right here. It's in they live it. They breathe it day in, day out. Just get 1% better today than you were yesterday. Day in, day out. Today's not a great day. Today's today. Tomorrow's going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be 1%. I mean, everything they do and say is all lockstep. I'm blown away so far. I was the same way. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. 7 minutes into that opening presser, I was like, I think we're going to win a national title next year.
But again, like I said with the previous segment, you know what? It is sports. It's your team. Have fun. Drink the Kool-Aid
Exactly.
and join us there. Bruce from Oregon joining us here on the Honda of Lincoln Hotline. Bruce, what are your thoughts on today's game?
Hey, guys. Hey, Mike, thanks for the update on the Huskers football. Good news on that.
You're welcome.
I agree with you guys about the Matt Rule thing, which is awesome. Can't wait. So I don't know if you guys were listening earlier on the Big Ten network, but the pregame they were talking about what if Fred Hoiberg had, his actual whole staff of kids, the whole roster, where would Nebraska be? Where would we be? We might actually be, because these last few games that we've been playing since we've been losing, we could beat these teams. Let's just be honest about it. We could beat these guys. It's just that we just don't have the offense, obviously. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And what do you think about maybe 2 more years of Hoiberg? And I'll take your guys' answer off the air. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate the call, man.
Yeah, thanks for the call. I do. I mean, that's kind of what stings about it too. I don't think Maryland's a team. If you insert Gary and Bandamel, I think Nebraska's right in there and might win this game. You kind of feel the same way about Northwestern. And again, that's what makes this whole thing so interesting, is how much is that going to be factored in, because you can't give him credits necessarily for wins that he didn't have. I mean, they're even though I say that, that's still in my mind. We don't get to see it play out, but at the same time, we did see them beat Iowa. We did see them beat Ohio State. We did see them beat Creighton, who, by the way, is starting to play pretty good again. And play this number 1 schedule, or one of the top schedules in the nation, and look pretty darn competitive most of the time. Now they still had a ceiling. There was still, this was never going to be, an early 2000s Duke team or anything like that. But it is that's part of the frustration. And it's just going to linger there, because I think that's going to be the case the rest of the year, is you're just going to look out at the final game and think, we could have played in this game with our full group of guys.
Absolutely. Before the break, you made one of the best, just simple statements about the Scott Frost and the Fred Hoiberg era at Nebraska. When you're getting down to the end of season 4 and into season 5, if there is a season 5 with Coach Hoiberg, do you hope that they can be successful, or do you believe they can be successful? Not one time, to answer your question without you directly asking me, not one time after season 3 did I believe we would be successful on the football field with Scott Frost as our head coach. I just didn't.
Yeah, I heard you talk about that. That's the last couple of years.
Yes.
You weren't drinking much Kool-Aid the last couple of years.
No. As a matter of fact, I was not. I believed he was a great hire because of his track record, but I did not like the hire. I was not a fan from day one. I still not a fan. Never will be a fan. Whatever. Off the field and off the court matters is all I'm saying. Anyway, what do I feel? I like Bruce's question. What do you guys feel about 2 more years of Fred Hoiberg? I've made my arguments both ways because I think both sides have got such great arguments. There's people that are just done. They're like, he can't do it. And I know one of the texters, alluded to the fact that, again, we can't succeed and et cetera, et cetera. We can't succeed, yet we were until we got 2 devastating injuries. And even with one of them, we were still pretty salty. And then the second one just absolutely was the torpedo that sunk the battleship. I believe in Coach Hoiberg. I do. I believe he could get it done here. I don't hope he can. I believe he can. That's my feeling. People can disagree with me. I agree with you because I see your points. It's not like this is black and white. No, it's not, man. This is as gray gets. But at the end of the day, if you ask me, do you believe that in year 5 if with Bruce 6, he can win here? He can get to the postseason, barring devastating injury? Yeah, I do.
Let's head back to the Honda of Lincoln hotline. You are live on the air. We don't have a producer, so we're just taking this live. Who is this?
John.
John, nice to talk to
John,
you.
thanks for calling.
Yeah, thanks for calling. What's on your mind today?
I think we can win. Those 2 injuries were terrible. But with the young guys that he brought in, now if they can make the foul shots, because the other night I think they were 1 of 10.
Yeah.
But his son, I don't know why they haven't been playing his son more. He had 11 points in the first half in like 10 minutes of play.
Yeah.
I mean, he's bringing in a young group, a young core group. If we can just get the older guys to come back and lead and get a few more pieces, I'm not saying we're going to win a national championship by any means, but I think we can be competitive and maybe someday win a tournament game. That's all I got.
All right.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. I do. I agree. Who's going to replace Emmanuel Bandamel? I don't know. I don't know what his name is. He's playing for another team right now, and he's going to enter the transfer portal, and he's going to come to Nebraska. Okay? Who's going to be the guy that they're going to pair up with Juwan Gary after he's healed and he plays next year for Nebraska? Hopefully he doesn't go anywhere and he stays and he plays. Who's going to be that other guy that they get, or the 6'10" guy that's going to be your big 5? I don't know his name. I don't know what school he's playing for now, but he's going to enter the portal. He's going to come here. Who is the guy that's going to be Keontae Johnson that doesn't have a health concern that the Nebraska physicians are worried about, that's going to come and be the difference? I don't know. I believe in the staff. I believe they can go get the guy. And by the way, has anyone paid attention to Eli Rice at IMG Academy? This is a school that sends 11 guys off of every team to play Power 5 D1 basketball. Eli Rice is the best player on the team. He should be he's coming to Nebraska. Okay. He's bringing in the talent. I saw what he did this year. I'd love to see him get back to the more 5-out run and gun. That's what I love. I love Danny Neese style, man. Motion. I mean, to this day, Strickland probably has nightmares about it, but we would hear him. Tom and I used to sneak into Devaney, long story, but we would sit down with the students, and over the loudest the crowd was, you could always hear when we were on offense, Danny screaming, motion, motion, motion. He wanted the guy, but they moved the ball so well. It was beautiful. I love that style of offense. I hope Fred brings it back with some of the tenacious D, who, by the way, I still think is one of the best bands live. Anyway,
yeah, I saw them too.
I think he can do it. Throw it all at me that you don't, because he's only going to, possibly win 34 games. And I get it.
Yeah,
but I still believe.
Well, and with his, track record, outside of Nebraska, basically, it is going to be one of those things where I think, you were kind of doing the thing with the, the devil on your shoulder and the angel on the other side. it's going to be one of those things where I when the decision is made, I can't, whether it's and these days they do make announcements. He's coming back just so you can, kind of get that, recruiting burst and all that stuff. And everybody knows the program's stable there. When that decision's made, it's just going to be like, well, that's the way they felt, because I mean, either way, I can't get too upset. I mean, I can understand if Trev watches this and just thinks, maybe I could do better with my own pick. I got to remember that this isn't necessarily Trev Albert's pick. But if he sees what he saw, what a lot of us like to say we saw early in the season, and thinks that this plan B or this type of, the assistant coaches and this type of basketball is worth a shot, and Fred had it, on the right track, then I can't get too upset with that either. I mean, it's just going to be, now again, I say that now, I've got to live through what I mean, we're all saying it, and we just wish it's not true. You don't want to give up on the team, but it's just going to take such a fight to win a few of these games.
Well,
a few of them.
It is. I'd take one or two. I'd take two. Give me two more somehow, some way. I think somehow, some way they can scrap together at least one, maybe two more somehow. It's going to take some magic, but you alluded to Trev Alberts, and let's face it, the world we live in today with social media, we all can coach better. We all can AD better. We all can quarterback better than the player, the coach, or the AD can. All of us can, because we have the ability to get on our phone, go to Twitter, and tell them how they should have done it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're all smarter than those guys. However, go back and look at what Trev Alberts has done since the day he was hired, and tell me you've got a problem with any of it. You talk about a guy that I believe in, a guy that I believe is going to make the right decision for the best thing to possibly happen to the University of Nebraska. I think Fred should come back. If he says, I don't think Fred should, and I'm going to hire somebody else, I absolutely agree with him. I may not agree with him, but I agree with the fact that he has done far more research, is far smarter than me, has far more connections, far more everything, and knows exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. He does everything with a purpose. He doesn't do it because. He does it with a purpose. If he brings him back, I know he believes the way I do. If he doesn't, he believes the opposite way, but I'm going to trust him because, I mean, let's be honest, he's navigated some maybe a little bit deeper than hip wader waters at times so far in his tenure at Nebraska, and he's done a spectacular job. His AD career did not start out in spectacular fashion at UNO with what happened to the wrestling program, especially the wrestling program, and the football programs being cut and the way they got cut. Mm-hmm. Flip side is he pulled them through a budget crisis that I don't know how many other people could have. And he learned, you talk about a guy that just grinded every day and got better every day, 1% better every day. I mean, look at how, from an athletic director standpoint, I mean, he was what he was on the field, an absolute terror. That was God-given with a lot of hard work. And it's like that. It doesn't seem like that hard work has stopped. And so anything that he decides, I'm going to be on board with 100%, even if he lets Fred go, and I think he ought to stay.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, the difference, like you said, between a lot of us and I mean, there's several differences between a lot of us and Trev Alberts when he makes this decision, is a lot of going to be, he's going to be having those feelers out there. He's going to have his list. If it's, I think that's what probably a lot of it's going to come down to is basically, are we just going out there and going to take a swing at some guy that won a conference, that won his conference? And, there's always the Cinderella story or whatever. Somebody that makes it the round of 32, gets a big upset. Those guys usually go on and get Power 5 jobs. Are you just going to kind of just try to take whoever's hot or whatever? Or do you have somebody that's attainable that you really feel like is a better option than Fred Hoiberg?
See, and that's the interesting thing is he doesn't have the ability of the background of playing this game at the highest level.
Yeah.
So the conversation where he was able to just talk football with Matt Rule, not do you want to coach Nebraska, but hi, my name's Trev Alberts. I understand you're Matt Rule. Would you like to have a discussion about football? And an hour later, they're both like, wow, we got a lot in common.
Yeah.
He can't have that with a basketball coach. But I have a feeling Trev probably has somebody on his staff or that is a trusted individual that he's going to go to and say, I would like to make it a conference call with you, me, and whoever. Let's have a conversation about basketball, about the Big Ten, about whatever. I like I said, the process that we found out he followed in hiring Matt Rule, it's probably going to be obviously different because it's basketball and there may be somebody else involved because he doesn't have that background in basketball the way he does football. But I can guarantee you there's going to be a long list of check boxes and everyone's going to get checked at the end of the day. So,
well, and if you're Hoiberg, maybe too, show up to work an hour early, maybe from here on to the rest of the season. Not saying he doesn't work, but we know how much Trev Alberts appreciates hard work and showing up to work early. So that's kind of maybe a little hint there. Faisal 5 times said, so Fred abandoned his style of basketball. What exactly is he bringing to the table anymore? Why not go get a coach who specializes in the style we want to play? Again, two sides of the coin to kind of this plan B situation.
I just want to throw out that not every coach could change their style and be successful as one. And two, I want us to run. You know what I want us to do more than run? Win. If we score 50 points a game and we wind up 27-5 and are the number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I would still rather run and do
it. A little more entertaining product. That was supposed to be, at least the downside, again, of both Frost and Hoiberg was like, this might not be the best, but at least it'll be entertaining. And just not being able to get the wins is really hurt.
It was entertaining for the opponents.
Yeah, so. It hasn't been so entertaining too much, but you still it'll be interesting too if it does come to a conclusion. There were NBA guys here that for a long time that was missing at Nebraska. There's triple doubles here and there. I mean, there were some of individual accomplishments and just special individuals that played here during the Hoiberg era. It just is not coming through to victories.
Well, and to several textures and callers' points in the past, if Derek Walker's teammates could have simply hit wide open shots, he'd probably have 3 or 4 triple doubles this year. I mean, he had games with 6, 7, and 8 assists where he kicked out at least 5 times to a wide open person, whether it was for a 3, a 15-footer, or a layup, and they missed. So yeah, he's somebody that could have done it. None in Nebraska basketball history. We only have 2 so far, but we could have had 4 or 5, 3, 4, 5 this year. So
does Delano Benton's count, or was that exhibition?
It technically was a game.
It was, okay.
Yes, it was against Doane, I know, but it did count, yes.
It counts. So him and Cam Mack have the triple doubles at Nebraska. Yep. There you go.
Yep.
The Hoiberg era. So, I mean, that's what it's been. Again, we'll wrap up here. Ultimately, kind of final thoughts on the game. Maryland wins 82-63 for Nebraska. As we talked about all game long, it's kind of the 19-point games. There's not much to critique, so we've kind of talked about the big picture stuff. But from this game, what's your kind of final thoughts here, Mac, as we kind of get close to closing it out here?
Well, somebody called me out and said they didn't see guys quit. I did. There were plays, there were closeouts, and some switches that just didn't happen. And it looked like guys just kind of dropped their head, dropped their shoulders. And we're all human, man. At the end of the day, with everything that's happened to the program with injuries here in the last couple of weeks, and you've got a game plan and it's kind of going well, and you get a 13-8 lead, and then all of a sudden you're down 5 because you give up a 10-0 run. Well, then you're back in it, and then you're not. And you're only down 10, and then you cut it to 6, and you got a 2-on-1 break, and then you're down by 13 and 30. I mean, you can't just sit there and expect the guys to give 110% every single time when stuff just continues to go sideways. But there was guys that just, I think, were ready for this game to be done. I don't think they're done for the season. I hope they fight like hell and scrap like hell and get another win or 2 or 3. Who knows? I don't think I'm going to count past 3. I think 2 might be it, but I would even take 1. But I said it the last time I was in, man. I can't give up on the program. I love the program. And I do. From your point, I believe in Coach Hoiberg. Others are not going to. I get your argument. Please understand mine.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, to kind of follow along, and see how much this conversation that we've had is repeated and added to with whatever kind of comes out with the context that we're going to see over the next couple of games. Again, to me, maybe it is just get that 1% better. Maybe it's not lose. To me, again, it's just keep the interest, keep me intrigued, keep me watching. If I'm not doing a post game show, and if you're trailing by 15, 20 points with 10 minutes left, that's not doing it. Nebraska is starting to have too many of those games, and this was just one of those that I mean, Matt, I want to say torture, but I'm not going to rewatch this one.
No, and I mean, and to your point of keep me interested, I started in the last 3 years watching every single Nebraska basketball game that was on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Every one. They did not keep me interested. I did not have a post-game show to do. And I spent a lot of the second halves and sometimes the last 10 minutes of the first half of the entire second half where I did not care.
Yeah.
And that's a unbelievably valid point. Keep us interested, man.
Yeah.
Like I said,
that's the hope.
Go against all common sense, whatever. Run and gun, man. I want 110 possessions a game.
Well, Nebraska did shoot well from the floor, by the way, today.
Yeah,
24 of 45, 53%. And from the three, because of Sam Hoiberg, they're 6 of 14. So that's over 40% for a team that usually shoots 30%. Their defense is obviously down compared, without the two best defensive players. And their free throw shooting today, 9 of 15, 60%. Again, that's not going to get it done.
It's almost an improvement.
Yeah, but it's not really too bad compared to previous games. But that'll wrap it up for the Hoops postgame show. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll do it again. They have another game on Tuesday. So that's the next time you'll hear from us. But we will go ahead and leave you with that. Hopefully have a great rest of the weekend. And, of course, Husker Rewind tomorrow. What time is that?
5 to 7 tomorrow.
5 to 7.
During the Chiefs game, I get it. But we're still going to be doing it and having fun.
There we go. We'll see you then.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is